Hi everyone, I'm Anita Carolina and I'm a 7th semester student from Petra Christian University. And today, through this video, I would like to share to you about my self-assessment test results, my future development plans, as well as the things that I have learned through Professor Dr. Casey Chan's courses. And today, in analyzing my self-assessment test result, I'm going to use this 5 level of leadership development pyramid starting from the bottom with learning styles. So in terms of learning style, I have actually quite a strong preference towards reflector, which scored 16 out of 20, followed by a moderate preference towards pragmatists and theories, each scored 13 and 11. And lastly, my activist actually scored quite low with only 3 out of 20. This combination actually shows that I have a thoughtful yet comprehensive learning style with just enough theory to back up my reasoning. This is because I actually put more emphasis towards the practicality and also the feasibility of the things I learn. I also constantly reflect on past experiences and also lessons learned to make sure that I don't repeat the same mistakes twice. In part, this is because I am quite of a perfectionist myself. Now moving on to the next test, which is entrepreneurial test, I actually scored quite average here with only 33, just barely passing the minimum range of average, which is 30 to 43. This actually shows that I actually pose quite of a potential to be an entrepreneur. However, there are things that I need to develop more. So my highest score in this test is actually in Need for Achievement, which scores 9 out of 12. However, this score is actually considered average, and I understand that this might due to the fact that I'm a quite risk-averse type of person myself. Thus, I'm not that optimistic towards new things. I accept changes if it's for the better, but I tend to weigh my options and take long time in doing it. And this is actually reflected in my calculated risk of taking score, which scores slightly below the average with 7 out of 12. My other score in this test is actually slightly below the average too. Like in Need for Autonomy, it's only 3 out of 6. Creative Tendency, only 7 out of 12. And Drive and Determinations, 8 out of 12. However, this shows that these 4 aspects is where I should develop myself more if I want to be a real entrepreneur, which I am. So I think the best way for me to develop these 4 things is actually through gaining real working experience. And now moving on to the last test in terms of individual competence is the Big 5 personality. And here, my highest score is actually in consciousness and openness, which scored 20 and 21. This shows that I'm an honest and hardworking individual who opens to learn new things. And this is actually true because I actually always want to make sure that everything that I do is based on a thorough and considered judgment, even if I need to take extra time learning about new things. I also score quite okay in terms of agreeableness with score 20, which shows that I can adjust my behavior to suit others, but I also know when to be bold and tell it like it is. However, in terms of extroversion and neuroticism, I actually scored below the average with 16 score for both. However, in terms of neuroticism, this is actually good because it shows that I have the emotional intelligence so that I can control my emotion so that it doesn't affect my performance, and thus I can always keep things professional. However, in terms of extroversion, my score actually shows that in some ways I'm quite introverted. However, I see this as quite of an improvement because I used to be such an introverted individual. And now, looking at the score, I actually now leaning towards more extroverted. So it is actually quite a good thing, and I need to develop more in here to be more extroverted, as it is highly needed to be an entrepreneur. So now, as I have completed the individual competence assessments, now moving on to the second tier of the pyramid, which is team capacity assessment. So here I'm going to assess my team capacity using Belbin's model of team roles. And here is my fully plotted Belbin's model. In line with my hardworking personality, I'm actually mostly seeing myself as the complete finisher in the group. I took the time to search out errors and make sure that everything is correct, as I'm also quite a good specialist myself. More than that, I'm also a good team player, and most of the time, I take the role as the shaper, implementer, and also coordinator. However, I'm less of a thinker innovator, research investigator, and also monitor evaluator. So now that I have completed my individual competence assessment as well as the team capacity assessment, now moving on to the top of the pyramid with leadership self-assessment to assess my organizational capability. So here is my fully plotted results of the leadership test. In this test, I found that the competency that I demonstrated the most often is negotiating and leading teams. Managed to do it by leveraging my motivating and inspiring as well as my communicating skills. However, I need to develop further my competency in aligning people, building relationships, facilitating ethical conduct, and also leading change. Thus, by completing this test, I have also completed this concept diagram of self-awareness. I have identified my personal capability, I have discovered my potential and areas to be improved, and most importantly, I have known my capacity in leading and dealing with people. So now, the next thing is to know who I really wanted to be. In developing myself, of course, it is important to know what is it that I want to be, to know to which extent I should develop myself and which trait should I develop first. So here, my goal in life is actually to be a successful entrepreneur and also a leader whom people can respect and look up to. Judging from my self-assessment test results earlier, I believe right now I'm still at the level somewhere between contributing member and competent manager. So in the next 10 years, I want to develop myself into an effective leader, since it is crucial in becoming a successful entrepreneur. And so here, I want to share about my career and development for the next 10 years. Here, I divided into first, third, fifth, and also 10th year. So in the first year, I would like to first discover my passion. In becoming an entrepreneur, it is important for me to know what kind of business that I want to do and what kind of industry that I wanted to work in. I also need to develop and start building my own network. And as you can see from my leadership test results, I'm actually not the most capable person in building relationship. That is why this is the competency that I need to work on and build while discovering my passion. I need to go out there and also gain as much experience as possible to discover my passion and develop my network. And I will start this by starting my internship next month in one of the national banks in Jakarta for 6 months in marketing communication division. This hopefully will enable me to interact with various people from various industry in Indonesia, and so that I can learn a lot from them. Then after the internship period ends, then I will try to learn about my father's business to see if I have a passion there, and also to see if there is anything that I have learned so far that I can apply to help my father develop his business. And then by the third year, I need to have figured out my passion and whether or not I want to focus on my father's business. If I decided not to focus on my father's business, then I need to come up with a plan in which I can still manage his business but also start building my own venture. In this regards, then I need to build my creativity and also calculated risk-taking competency so that I can make a considered judgment but also be able to take risks and not spending too much time weighing my option, because the ability to take the risk as the opportunity rises is highly important. And on the fifth year, I need to have established my own business and start to be more independent in managing my father's business as to not relying too much on him to make decisions for the company. Thus, I need to be able to multitask and supervise both companies and bring them to success without sacrificing one or the other. Therefore, I need to build on my leadership capabilities, especially in negotiating, motivating and inspiring, aligning people, and most importantly, in communicating. Why? Because by this time, I need to handle two companies at once, and I might need to delegate jobs, and thus I need to be able to select those who are capable and also worthy of my trust. In this regard, then, I need to be able to not only build on my leadership capability, but also my personality, especially in openness to new experience and also agreeableness. Why? Because by this time, I have several people under my leadership, and thus I need to be able to empower them and also accommodate their needs. Not only that, I also need to keep myself updated with the recent economics and technological development as to be able to continuously build a competitive advantage for both my businesses and stay competitive in the industry. And finally, on the 10th year, my goal here is to become fully independent in managing my father's business and become a completely effective all-round leader in which employees can approach easily, respect, and also look up to. And by this year, I also would like to have brought both of my businesses to a significant position in the industry. So I need to develop my capability as a research investigator and also thinker innovator to continuously look for ways to develop my companies and also develop its competitive advantage and elevate its scope to another level. And with that, I have completed my career path for the next 10 years. All this time, I have been wanting to really think about what should I do upon graduation, but I simply got no time with all IBM assignments, and plus, I myself tend to postpone things. By doing this video, it actually got me really thinking about my future. Especially with all the tasks, I now know what is my potential, what is my personality, my capacity, and also my capability. So now I know which area that I should develop more to become a successful individual. The interesting part is, actually, I have always been the one in the group who is given this part to actually assess and run these tests to companies for Professor Dr. Casey Chan's presentation. So it is actually quite interesting for me to run this test on myself. However, through this experience, I actually learned how to apply this theory into real life and possibly how to apply this to my company later on and not just mere assignments. And not only that, by joining all of Professor Casey Chan's courses, it also has taught me a lot more things. More importantly, by learning and using all the diagrams and also frameworks provided by Professor Dr. Casey Chan, it actually has shaped the way I analyze things and deliver presentations. I may not have mastered all the diagrams that he provides, but some basic frameworks that we usually use as the big frameworks for our presentations, such as 6A's, delta matrix, and also concept diagram, is actually very helpful in assisting me to analyze things more thoroughly and also holistically, but also still concisely, which is very important in working life. As people say, time is money. And this have actually helped me during my OJT period, in which I can become more structured and also effective in doing my research, which is actually praised by my company in which I work. However, I believe that what I learned through joining all IBM, GSM, and also M&E classes has taught me more than just lessons through the courses, but also the experiences itself. Here is a presentation slide, which is actually a personal evaluation that my group and I prepared for our last presentation with Professor Dr. Casey Chan. And here we can see how much I have developed within these 2 years. And the development was not only in holistic and analytical thinking, but also in perseverance, management, and also innovation. In a sense, this whole experience has actually developed not only my personal capability, but also my personality and ultimately my team working skills. I used to be such an individualist, but now I have morphed into a great team player. And throughout these 2 years, I continuously learn and implement all of these things, and eventually the result itself can actually be seen through the diagram earlier. And so, That is all about my sharing today. And once again, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Casey Chan for all the great lessons and also the amazing and unforgettable assignments and experience that has shaped me into a better me today. I'm Anita Carolina. Thank you.